Welcome back, everyone, to a wonderful episode of the Duck Zone. We are going into week 12 of the NFL season, week 13 of the college football season. Time is flying. We are almost to Thanksgiving. It's crazy. James, how was your week? And I know you got a lot of things that you want to talk about from week 11 of the NFL season. But how are you doing? We'll just bridge right on into it.
Doing well. Doing a lot better than my so my wedding. I got sick the week after. Had that wedding this past weekend. So far, so good. So
Good. Good.
no sickness, no nothing. So should be should be in the clear to get back into watching football this weekend.
Good. Sounds good. Well, that said, I know you got a lot of notes from last week, so we'll jump right on into it.
Yeah, I wrote down some of the stuff I went through based on looking at highlights and box scores. I didn't watch too much football. Did have a couple college games on Saturday. I guess watched a little bit of NFL Sunday, but nothing like a normal weekend. So, anyways, I'll start it off with the Thursday night game. Um, so the Eagles got it done big time, and the note I put down is that team. I feel like that entire team is Saquon. If Saquon's not there, I'd be curious what their win loss record would be. The Ravens just can't beat the Steelers, and the Steelers defense is legit, legit. I mean, they're like back to steel curtain good. The Ravens also just can't beat the Steelers. It seems like they've lost seven of their last eight against the Steelers. So if Lamar has some kryptonite, I guess it's in Pittsburgh. We saw the Lions throw up another 50 plus banger. That team is insane on both sides of the ball. It's not just their offense that hums. Their defense is really, really good too. And I think that goes by the wayside sometimes because, obviously with fantasy football and just fans' reactions to offenses, sometimes defenses don't always get the praise they deserve. So the Lions are, I know we say it every week, or I say it every week, but the Lions are the best team in football. This is a little bit of a foreshadowing to what we'll talk about later in obviously with college, but Taysom Hill had a hell of a performance. He ran for like over 120, 130 yards. I think total yardage he was at like 180, three touchdowns. So he definitely stole the Mormon magic from BYU. Hint, hint, maybe BYU went down. Dolphins may slowly be getting it back. They actually are starting to play some good football, and that team's healthy. The Bears, I feel bad for the Bears. I was at a bar with a bunch of the wedding party, but two people in particular were big Packer fans, and they were pretty hyped up after that Bears missed field goal, blocked field goal, I should say, but the Bears just can't seem to do anything right. I'm going to eat my words from previous podcasts we've done. The Broncos are really good. Also, with that being said, the Chargers are really good. And I've now officially, I don't want to say hopped on the bandwagon, that's not the right term, but I will not be overlooking the Broncos and the Chargers anymore. I'm now at the point where, okay, they're proven, they're good. They're good teams. With that being said, for good teams, the Niners run may be done. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that team, but they're finally getting healthy. I know Kittle's supposed to I think Kittle came out yesterday and said that he was going to play, but the Niners need a lot of help.
Yep.
The game of the week that a lot of people thought would be, and the most anticipated game was probably the Chiefs-Bills, and we finally got to see a mortal Chiefs team. I think a lot of people were happy they lost. At least there was a lot of cheering at the bar I was at. And the Bills are also really good, so I don't want to overlook the Bills because the Chiefs came in undefeated. Josh Allen just destroyed them with his legs. And last but not least, we had the Battle of Texas. The Texans are also getting a little more healthy. We saw Nico Collins come back, and they and particularly Joe Mixon just absolutely annihilated the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are in absolute shambles.
Yeah.
So those are my notes. Anything you want to add on there, Sean, or should we get into picks?
I think you wrapped it up pretty good. I think you did a nice job of wrapping up Week 11, and I think we'll just go right into Week 12. 13-game slate, and we'll just go right into the picks and right into Thursday night. An AFC North battle to start it out. As you said, Pittsburgh looking great going into Cleveland. Who do you got on Thursday Night Football?
I'm picking the Steelers. I can't bet against them right now. They're doing enough on offense, if not more than enough. And their defense, they honestly might have the best defense in all of the NFL. So I know the Browns are coming off I guess the Browns aren't coming off a bye, are they? No, they're not. They just lost
They lost to New Orleans.
To the Saints.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's how bad that game was, that I didn't even put a note down for New Orleans beating the Browns. There we go. It's almost like the Browns were just non-existent, which actually that's true. Their offense was. So I'm picking the Steelers. The Browns have done nothing to show me anything.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Steelers too. It's amazing. Just go back 1 year and how bad that Pittsburgh offense was. And now I'm not saying like they're the best offense in the league, but Russell Wilson's got that thing humming. Najee Harris looks like a very, very, very good running back. That Mike Williams trade looks like it's panned out. It's an offense that just does enough, and they're going to be a real contender come playoff time, because that team is going to make the playoffs. I got Pittsburgh in this one. Going to Sunday morning, we got Minnesota going to Chicago.
Again, I think I mentioned it in my notes. The Bears just can't do anything right. They fired their OC. Their offense looked a little better. They changed things up. They gave more carries to Rashawn Johnson. They tried to get Roma Dunze more involved. But the Vikings, I think, are one of those teams, I don't want to call them a Super Bowl contender necessarily, but they're in the upper echelon, so I like the Vikings winning here.
Yeah, I'm going to take Minnesota as well. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears put up a good fight in this one. They looked good last week against the Packers. They'll be at home, but I think Minnesota is just going to be too much. The only thing that's worrying me about Minnesota is Sam Darnold is beginning to turn the ball over. And that's a little bit of a worry.
That's true.
But I think Minnesota wins. Chicago will put up a good fight. Detroit going to Indianapolis.
Yeah, I'm not going to go into detail about this one. I know the Colts looked a little better. Richardson he had a pulse. He did it with his legs. He threw a touchdown. He doesn't look absolutely inept, but this Lions team just can't be stopped, so I'm taking the Lions.
Yeah, it's tough to bet against the Lions right now. I'm going to also take them. New England heading down to Miami. Who do you got there?
Well, since the game's in Miami, I'm taking the Dolphins. I think that team, the joke is always they go to cold weather and can't get it done. You put a fast car in snow and it stalls out or spins out or, whatever, but they'll be playing down in Miami, so I like the Dolphins and I like Tua and the rest of that crew to get it done.
Yeah, I'm going to take Miami. I don't have much to add. They look good against the Raiders. Kind of a nice little stretch of easier games here. Tampa Bay going up to play the New York Giants. New quarterback playing for the Giants now.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bucks. I don't think I still would have picked the Giants had Daniel Jones stayed as quarterback, but it's hard for me to pick a team when they make that drastic of a change this late in the season. I think, I know Tommy DeVito's started before, but yeah, I'm not, he hasn't had any in-game reps yet. And practice is practice. Games are different. So give me Baker Mayfield and the Bucks.
Yeah, I like Tampa Bay as well. Tampa Bay at this point, especially with their schedule coming up, this is a team that may slip right into the playoffs, especially if Atlanta doesn't really turn it on. Um, their offense and Mike Evans is coming back, and their offense is good. Defense is atrocious, but they might be able to slip their way into it. I'm thinking Tampa Bay here. Um, yeah. This might be a blowout. I feel like Dallas is the worst team in the league at this point. They're going to be going to Washington to take on the Commanders. Who do you got?
Yeah, there's kind of a theme brewing here with a lot of these games that starting on this slate for this week 12. I like the Commanders. I'm not going to go into detail. You said it. You nailed it right up. You nailed it. The Cowboys are really, really bad. So I like the Commanders at home.
I'm going to take the Commanders as well. Next game, not too much better. Kansas City heading to Carolina.
Yeah, this is a prime bounce back for the Chiefs. I would feel like. I know the Panthers have been playing well recently. They're coming off a bye too, and basically a two-game win streak. But the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're going to get back in the winning column. So they just played the Bills, who are one of the best teams in the league. So it's not like the Chiefs are going to do something crazy and have a two-game losing streak. So I like the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Chiefs too. Uh, Another one, Tennessee heading to Houston. This could be a morning slate of blowouts.
Yeah, these are some interesting games. Texans at home. Joe Mixon's just going to be way too much for that Titans defense, and another week of Nico Collins healthy, Tank Dell healthy. So give me the Texans.
Yeah, I'm going to take Houston as well. Going to the afternoon slate, Denver heading into Vegas. Divisional game could be a trap game for Denver.
Yeah, these games are always pretty tight when you talk division games. I'm still taking the Broncos here on the road. Bo Nix is really starting to turn it on, and he's looking like more of a franchise quarterback than I ever would have seen. So, and they have a elite, maybe not elite, but they have a really, really good defense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the Broncos. The Raiders, again, I feel like it's just. I feel like we're with every game we're talking about, it's like a good team versus a bad team. So hopefully we have a couple good matchups coming up.
Yeah. But I'm going to take Denver too. It just kind of shows you as we're kind of skipping through a lot of these bad teams, the amount of teams 11 weeks into the season that we are already declaring like not even in playoff contention. They're just bad. I mean, between New England, the Giants, Dallas, Carolina, Tennessee, Raiders, these are all teams that are like, they're not even contending at all. Like, it's going to be tough real rebuilds with all of these teams, but I'm going to take Denver as well. Back to back, actually, the rest of our games, last four, we're going to finish strong. 49ers heading to Green Bay.
This basically came down to whoever was the home team. I really wanted to go with the Niners, but going to Lambeau can be tough. So I'm taking the Packers. Niners also just haven't looked great. So, when you're playing at home, it helps you out a little bit. You have to wake up in your own bed, drive to the stadium. You got the home crowd behind you, but yeah, no, not happening for the 49ers. Hence why I'm picking the Packers.
Yeah, this is a tricky one for me. I feel like we got two teams here that have kind of come into the season with high hopes of a Super Bowl, and even in the Packers' position, they're winning games close. They haven't looked dominant. They have a slew of talent, but they just haven't had that moment to break out. The Niners have looked bad all year for various reasons, a lot of injuries. I'm going to take the Niners. I have a feeling they're going to break out eventually. But if they don't do it soon, it's going to run out of time. I'm going to take the Niners. I just have an inkling that they're going to finally turn it on. Kittle comes back. He's healthy. I don't know. I'm just not completely all in on the Packers right now. They should have lost the game last week. Another divisional matchup: Arizona heading to Seattle.
Yeah, Cardinals don't typically fare well in Seattle. Seattle's a tough place to play, 12th man. But I don't care. I'm picking the Cardinals. I think this Cardinals team, they're doing something we haven't seen in a long time in Arizona, and that's winning the close games. You had the years with Cliff Kingsbury where he tried to get too cute, and there were weeks where the offense looked they were humming. It's like, wow, Cliff is this offensive genius, which I think he is, and he's better suited in an offensive coordinator role, not a head coaching role. But you know, just like Arizona State, a little down the street, Gannon's got this Cardinals team turned around way quicker than I ever would have thought. So hopefully it keeps up. Not just because I'm a Cardinals fan, but so my pick is right. But I like the Cardinals on the road. I think they can get it done.
This is one of those weird years in Seattle. Any other year, I'd be like, yeah, this is it's tough to go up to Seattle and win. Seattle's lost three in a row at home. They haven't really looked good at home this year. It's weird. One of the toughest places to play, but this year it hasn't been as much. So I'm an Arizona fan. I'm going to take the Cardinals. I think they roll in there and they get the win coming off of last week's bye. I think they've got a week to prepare, and the extra time probably helped. And Seattle just has not been the same Seattle at home that they usually are. Sunday Night Football, Philly taking on the Rams.
I'm taking Saquon, which means I'm taking the Eagles. And until I can see someone slow down Saquon, if anyone can, I don't know if Saquon, I mean, he's pretty close to unstoppable. Yeah, I don't know. Even with two healthy elite wide receivers in LA, it's not helping them. Yeah, I don't know. Eagles are playing well. I'm taking the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Eagles as well. Rams are a little bit too Jekyll and Hyde for me. Some weeks they look great, some weeks they look terrible. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to be conservative and take the Philadelphia Eagles. Monday Night Football happening in the same stadium. Baltimore also heading to LA to take on the Chargers and the Harbaugh Bowl.
Yeah, this will be fun. Whenever the Harbaughs match up, it's always a game of chess. So, especially since it's the week before Thanksgiving too, someone gets to have a little bit of gloating and gets to one up the other one right before Thanksgiving. So, with that being said, I'm taking Jim. I think the Chargers defense and just that team in general, they got it figured out. They don't have the star players. They have Justin Herbert, obviously, the star quarterback, but I mean, they got the Reclamation Project and J.K. Dobbins. They got the rookie and Lad McConkey. They have a couple superstars, a little past their prime in Khalil Mack on defense. But this is proving that Harbaugh's a really good coach. He really turned this Chargers team around quick. And the Ravens don't have a good defense. So this could be a game where we see... I don't want to say the Chargers are going to destroy the Ravens, because even though the Chargers have a good defense, Lamar's going to Lamar. He's going to do some crazy stuff. So I think this will be a close game, but I like the Chargers to pull this one out.
Yeah, I like the Chargers as well. I think this is actually going to be kind of like last week's game. A lot of high scoring, go back and forth. It's amazing how fast Jim has turned this thing around. They're definitely a playoff team. I don't know if they're a Super Bowl contender, but they're a playoff team. And give them one more draft. This team next year is gonna be a tough out, and that whole AFC West with Kansas City being Kansas City, Denver looking now like they're ahead of schedule. That's a tough division. I mean, don't want to be the Raiders because they're in the dumpster. Outside of that, Week 12, Atlanta, Buffalo, Cincinnati, New Orleans, the Jets, and Jacksonville all on byes. It is actually the smallest NFL slate of the season right there before Thanksgiving. That being said, there's college football to talk about, and I know you got quite a bit of notes from last week's slate as we get closer and closer to the college football playoff. We got a couple games we want to talk about. James, I'll give it to you. What are a couple of the notes from last week?
Yeah, so we saw another big blowout by Ohio State. And I feel like they're kind of under the radar. I know part of that might be because I haven't really watched it. I watched the Ohio State-Penn State game. That was a good game. But the rest of the weeks, I just find it hard to tune in to Ohio State. Whether I tune in late and they're already blowing out a team, or I'm just not that interested. I don't know. They just seem like they're that one team that is in the top 5, who just, they don't get as much talk. It's like, we're going to talk about Miami and Cam Ward. We're going to talk about Oregon and Dylan Gabriel. And Ohio State kind of, at least from what I'm watching and maybe when I'm tuning in on the TV, they've already talked about him. Who knows? But it just seems like they're kind of flying under the radar. And this week's Indiana-Ohio State game I'm really looking forward to. So, yeah, I'm excited to watch Ohio State and get to know, some of their players a little more, especially before bowl season and the playoffs and championship week, I should say. Colorado put it on to Utah, and they mark it down. I think they will be going to the Big 12 championship game. They hold their own fate, and they should be able to win out. We saw Tulane destroy Navy, which to some people probably isn't that big of a deal. Navy at one point was, undefeated. Even I think 3 weeks ago, Navy was in the top 25. So still a good win. Tulane is ranked, but with that being said, they're going to be in their American Athletic Conference championship game. Whether that means anything, I don't know. I mean, they're gonna need a lot to go their way. They have to win out and then win their championship game, and they need a lot of other dominoes to fall their way. I just thought that was kind of cool. Another thing that just seems to be a weekly thing that I talk about, so I literally just put it in as my weekly Ashton Genty is really good note. I don't think there's anything more to be said. The guy's a freak. He's like second in the betting favorites, I think, for the Heisman behind Travis Hunter. So, if you're gambling out there, he might not be a bad bet, especially with his odds right now, because he should be able to keep up what he's doing. He's going to go over, potentially, and probably should go over 2,000 yards rushing after this week's game. So, a slip up here, a slip up there by Travis Hunter, or knock on wood, an injury, which you never want to see. I mean, Genty's not a bad pick. We saw ASU upset K-State to stay alive. They fall into that Chargers and Broncos for me. For the longest time, I just wasn't believing it. Partially, probably because I'm a U of A fan. But, yeah, I mean, but also the same way with those teams. Dillingham just has that team turned around way quicker than I ever would have thought. Yep. They're the Arizona team that I didn't think would be this well, because I thought that the other Arizona team, the Wildcats, would be kind of in their shoes. But hats off to ASU. They're playing really, really well. And Scatabo, their running back, he's legit. We saw Georgia get back in the win column. They looked like a national title game contender again against Tennessee. They really locked down Tennessee's offense. Carson Beck didn't look inept. He actually, looked halfway decent and probably vaulted himself back up into, I don't know, top 10 quarterbacks getting drafted. Yeah. We saw University of New Mexico kill Washington State shot. I know we talked about that they really didn't have a shot, which I don't think they did, but this kind of kills that, now the Wazoo fans don't have anything really to talk about. It's like, all right, that's your second loss. go back to Pullman and drink some beer. And last but not least, one that was pretty exciting for my wife and I, coming off of the wedding. Wedding ended. There's like 6 minutes left in the Kansas BYU game. We rush up to a hotel room. Kansas upsets BYU, hands BYU their first loss. Kansas is playing really good football the last couple weeks. They're looking like the Kansas that a lot of people thought they would be to start the season. Just obviously took them a little too long to get there. But yeah, it's adding some madness to this college football playoffs because you throw in a loss to an undefeated team and a bunch of teams starting having 1 and 2 losses, and this is where the craziness happens. And with that being said, we can roll right into the college football playoff bracket.
Yep.
Sean, I'll give it over to you, but
yeah, not too much difference from this week to last week. I mean, the biggest things is BYU obviously falls down with their loss. The big thing is, I guess, Boise State now sitting in that bye spot above BYU. Georgia gets back in the mix. Tennessee falls out. But, a lot of stuff that's still got to get played out. It's fun and entertaining to see how it's kind of going. But as we both know, you still got 3 weeks of college football, and a lot can change in that 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think you said it. Yeah, it's fun to look at, but I know we talked off air. Boise State, as of this second, would get a bye, but even though they're most likely going to win out, if a BYU wins out or an ASU wins out or
Colorado,
I'm trying to think who else could even Colorado, you would think that some of those wins would probably vault them up ahead of Boise State, which is unfortunate because it would be kind of cool. It's always fun to see some of those smaller schools like Boise State get an opportunity to just go right into the quarterfinals. But with that being said, yeah, there's so much time left. We have championship games left. I mean, yeah, nothing. To me, nothing. We talked about this last week. People get up in arms over this, and it's okay, you're up in arms because Georgia's not in it. Okay, a week goes by, Georgia's back in it.
Yeah, it's the only thing I think this is just prediction just for me. SMU has been sitting at that 14, 13 spot, I think, every single week, right around there. I think it's going to be in the ACC championship. It's going to be Miami and SMU playing against each other. I think SMU is going to win that game. I just don't believe in Miami. I think Miami just plays down to their opponent, and they got caught a week ago. I think they get caught in that game, and I don't think Miami gets in the playoff. So
yeah, they're a name right now. I mean,
yeah.
Miami's a much bigger program than an SMU. So it's hard for people to give SMU, give them their kudos. But yeah, honestly, SMU's probably a better team than Miami.
Yeah.
Miami does not have a good defense, and I know this is so stupid to say, because obviously to be good, you have to have a good quarterback.
Yeah.
Miami's got a good quarterback, so what would they be without Cam Ward? Okay, I get it. That's kind of stupid to say, but also, obviously, they've shown that even with a elite quarterback, I mean, they don't have the defense. They're not going to go far in this tournament. So,
yeah, I mean, they're
that's all I'll say.
They're a few throws away from being very easily at this point 7-3. We got 4 games we're going to mention really quick. Everything is very directed right towards the playoff. The first one is game of the week in my opinion, and I'm shocked. Big noon Fox big noon, whatever it is. That thing's got to change. This game should be at night, but of course we're going to play it as early as we possibly can. Number 5 Indiana going to Ohio State. Number 2. I can't believe this game's happening at noon. 9 o'clock in the morning California time. But who do you got?
Yeah, a top 5 matchup should not be at noon Eastern. That's insane, ridiculous. It's just like the Ohio State-Penn State game.
Yeah, same thing.
I'm taking Indiana here. They're coming off a bye. I think their quarterback Rourke is legit. He's kind of in that. I've seen him get thrown around. That if he can have a really good game this week against Ohio State, or even win the game, he could get thrown into that like top four for the Heisman. I don't know. This just seems like Indiana's year. I mean, 10 wins already, most in program history. They're going for that 11th win. Like I mentioned before, Ohio State. Yeah, they're killing the teams they should be killing, but to me, it's like they're not. It's funny because I know I said I haven't watched them much. I've seen highlights. Like I've watched all their games and their highlights. I just haven't tuned into full games with them. But like, I don't know. I know the Horseshoe is a tough place to play, but Indiana's already doing things they've never done. They beat Michigan.
Yeah.
They never beat Michigan. They're breaking records for football, not awards, but just accolades that they've never really had in school history. I just think this is Indiana's year, so I'm taking Indiana.
Yeah, if this game was happening in Indiana, I think I would take Indiana. The fact that the Buckeyes are at home makes it really tough for me not to take Ohio State. So I'm going to take it safe. I'm going to take Ohio State, and they'll be packing their bags for Indy to face off the Ducks in the Big Ten Championship. I think Ohio State wins this one. I think it's going to be a dogfight, though. Talking about another matchup that will lead them to their conference championship. The winner of the BYU, number 14 BYU at 21 ASU matchup, which we'll talk about next. Winner probably goes to the Big 12 championship. Who do you got in this one?
I'm taking ASU at home. They're playing really good football, and I was very much one to say that BYU was kind of a fraud. I just don't think they're. I know they're winning. Obviously, you can't hit someone while they're I don't even know what the phrase would be, but you can't fault someone for doing something well, right? So they've won their games. They're undefeated. They lose this past weekend. However, they weren't winning by a lot, and they were even. I mean, like going into a game against Kansas last week, they were only favored by like 2.5 or something like that at home.
Yeah.
So I just don't think they're that good, to be honest. So I'm taking ASU, and I think Scattaboo runs all over them.
Yeah, I'm going to take ASU as well. Going back to the past matchup, I mean, we got two of the biggest surprises in college football, Indiana, ASU. It's so great with the fact that we have a 12-team playoff that we can have these conversations with two teams that kind of came out of nowhere, and they have a legitimate shot at making the playoffs. And a normal, up to this point, ASU would not even be considered for the playoffs. At this point, one of the biggest turnarounds, very cool. Even with Indiana losing, they could very well easily making the playoff as well. So we could have some really cool storylines with teams that had complete crazy turnarounds that we didn't expect it. I think ASU wins this game. And I actually think they do it pretty convincingly. I'm just not all in on this BYU team at all. I think it's gonna be popping in Tempe. Another Big 12 matchup: Colorado, number 16 Colorado, heading over to Kansas. Kansas, as you mentioned, beat BYU last week. This game will be played at Arrowhead. Who do you got here?
I'm picking Kansas. I don't think they're going to be able to necessarily stop the Colorado offense, but Colorado's defense is not good. Kansas's defense has actually been playing pretty well the last couple weeks. They beat Iowa State, and like you said, went in and beat BYU. So they're riding high right now. They also have to win out to get bowl eligibility. So that's something that I know Lance Leopold, their head coach, is going to be fighting for. Game's getting played at Arrowhead. It's going to have kind of a NFL vibe to it. But I'm taking the Jayhawks. I think the Jayhawks get it done. I know 2 weeks ago, and like we've been saying, Colorado, they own their own fate. But 2 weeks ago, we were like, oh yeah, Colorado, they're a shoo-in. But from what I've seen out of Kansas, I don't think, it'll be close. And I think the over, if you're a betting person, bet the over. This game will have a lot of fireworks. I just think those Jayhawks are just playing really well at the right time. And they're going to play spoiler to Colorado.
I think Colorado's slip up is coming. I don't think it's going to be this week. I think Colorado wins. I also believe Dion is putting his best film reel out there right now. I don't think he's too worried about what happens in the playoffs. I think he's trying to get the playoffs, put this great reel together. I'm a great offensive mastermind. Because I think at this point he's thinking he can go get that Dallas Cowboys job. He may actually get that job, in my opinion. So I think he's throwing out all the fireworks at this point. I see Colorado winning this one. Another great game, number 19, Army, going up against number 6, Notre Dame. This is going to be at Yankee Stadium. This is, in my opinion, an elimination game. Winner's got a great shot. It's got a path. Notre Dame, this will probably solidify Notre Dame in. Army keeps them alive, but with a loss, either of these two teams, in my opinion, are out.
I really want to pick Army. I know I picked Navy to beat Notre Dame when they played at MetLife Stadium. This game's getting played at Yankee Stadium. Bryson Daly's a good quarterback for Army. They run their triple option. He can also throw the ball too, which typically you don't always see out of, an Army offense. But I got burned with that Navy pick, and I don't want to get burned again. And I think Notre Dame's actually pretty good. So I'm taking Notre Dame. I hope that Army makes it a close game. Honestly, I even hope Army wins. But if I have to make a pick, I'm gonna play it safe, and I'm picking Notre Dame.
Yeah, I think this Army team is much better than the Navy team. We wouldn't have projected that 2 weeks ago, but what we've seen, or 3 weeks ago, what we've seen out of Navy since that game, Navy just may not have been as good. This is by far the toughest game that Army has to play on their schedule all year. I don't think they've played a team, I'm double checking it right now, I don't think they've played a team that's over 500 all year. So, East Carolina is over 500. So they've got one that's over 500. So this is going to be a real test. I'm going to take Notre Dame. I think it's going to be too much, but I think this is going to be at least a competitive game, not like the Navy blowout. I think this is going to come down to the fourth quarter. I think Army will show all of the things, all their weapons that they have. It's going to be a dogfight, and I think Notre Dame comes out ahead. They just have a little bit too much talent, and Army just hasn't seen that talent yet this year. James, anything else to say before we wrap up on this week?
No, not too much. I know we don't talk baseball too much, but we might be seeing a Sasaki movement in the next couple days, so that'll be interesting. He's probably going to go to the Dodgers, they just get everyone, but that's kind of what I got my eyes on right now is where's Sasaki going, and then obviously football going into the weekend.
Yeah, winter meetings are just a couple weeks away here for baseball, so we should start seeing a lot of transactions there, and group play for the NBA is kicking, and yeah, we'll be talking about that here shortly. But James, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Thank you for being here, and until next time, we'll see you next week.